Okay, great. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. Today is February 15th, 2017, and this is Grow Hemp Colorado's free hemp conference calls that we have started again every Wednesday right now at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Every Wednesday right now at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We have had these going on for quite a while and then stopped, but just for anybody listening now and in the future on this recording, these are kind of how the conference calls work. Anyone who dings on conference calls work. Anyone who dings on, we typically end up muting during the discussions with our special guests, and then oftentimes there's one or two special guests discussing different things throughout the hour. We try to open it up for some questions and answers at the end. If you are able to record it, and you can always download it and listen, play it on Grow Hemp Colorado under the free conference calls and check the schedule there too. So today, which is really our first one for 2017, we have our primary focus topic issue today is going to be Alaska on there. So we do have two special guests today. One at the beginning of our discussions today is Caleb Saunders. Am I saying that right? With Green Jar?
Yeah, Saunders with Green Jar.
Saunders, forgive me.
Mm-hmm.
And we're the Saunders, forgive me.
Mm-hmm.
And we're the first half of our discussion with him is he's the CEO of Green Jar, which is a dispensary out in Alaska. Recently, there was some activities that happened that he was directly involved in and affected by, also directly affecting the hemp industry. So we're going to kind of just jump into it. And first, if you don't mind, can you kind of just give us a little brief description about you and what you're doing and where you're at over there?
Yeah, so right now we got delayed with a lot of regulatory stuff, moratoriums and all that. We're selling hemp CBD products as well and all that. We, believed that was the case, that it was hemp CBD. It's sold in all the natural food stores and everything up here. So, but we have our application in for a marijuana retail license. So we reviewed a little bit differently. So they came and seized our product for the CBD stuff, and they're able to still go everywhere else. And right now, on Friday, we actually have a hearing with the board. And so there's a few different things going on. Still trying to. The big question right now is what's the difference between marijuana and what's the difference between hemp up here, kind of.
Exactly. Okay, so let's just step back a little bit for people who are not familiar with the situation or maybe the regulations in Alaska. So explain first, what is, when you mentioned they came in and took products, who is they?
Yeah, I apologize. So AMCO.
No, you're fine.
AMCO is Alcohol Control Office. So and so two enforcement officers came in, and their directive for the day, I guess, kind of was go seize all these products. There was 11 stores that they came into, and I happen to be just one of the 11.
Marijuana regulators for all, licensees out there in Alaska.
Yes, correct.
And then when they came in to, they did a sweep basically of 11 stores, so it wasn't just one person or two. They hit a bunch of everybody. What was their reasoning behind what happened, how much was taken, and what, if you don't mind telling us?
Yeah, so when they came in, they said they were looking for CBD products, and what had prompted it was, I guess, a package coming up from the lower 48 in the post office, which coming up from the lower 48 in the post office was leaking. So the post office were the ones that made the call that there could be something going on because there was no labels on some of the packaging. It was simply just these vials of liquid that was intended for human consumption that was intended for human consumption being sent through the mail.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of, I mean, that's understandable. It was they wanted to see what was that, and then they told us about that it was something in there, and that the lawyer includes, any concentrates basically made from that plant as far as our definition goes. And then they were making comments kind of like, oh, you'll probably see this back next week. It didn't seem, it didn't really get comfort. And then they just kind of, on 2 pieces of paper, wrote down the Charlotte's Web and products that we had, and the Mary's Nutritional products. They took took a list of both of those, and then left. And then the next day, that's when I finally received, and then left. And then the next day, that's when I finally received a notice of violation and a list of all the things they seized and all that.
I'm just so sorry you had experienced this. I know it's like super stressful for all the 11 stores, and then now everyone else involved. So this is not like a comfortable situation by any means, and probably even a bit scary, not even just on the receiving end, but now on the regulator side, since they've kind of dug a deep hole. But do you by any chance have that definition of what marijuana is defined there? Because I do have he's the acting division director, and I believe it says that as defined in state statute and regulation, this oil, which I guess is the cannabidiol CBD oil, meets the definition of marijuana product, and marijuana concentrate. And the Alaska Department of Law confirms that the products derived from the marijuana plant are regulated under a certain code, which I'm guessing is the marijuana law over there. They only talk about CBD and THC, but what is the exact definition they're referencing for the CBD and THC? But what is the exact definition they're referencing for the marijuana definition over there? Because you guys have only marijuana legal right now, not industrial hemp yet, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So here, I can find the definition, and I'll kind of explain while I'm basically the way they're viewing it is our definition lumps in everything from the plant, and then there is a little small section of it that stalks and unfertilized or
non-viable seed, I think it was.
Yeah.
Seed cake.
So that's their definition is basically because it's a concentrate from that plant. They view it as it's a concentrate that came from a marijuana plant. It wasn't a concentrate that came from a hemp plant under their definition. And then I guess we don't have our rules don't line up with the federal rules as far as what classifies hemp. So we do have a bill going through right now, but we don't have in there the 0.3. So that's kind of what they're saying at the moment.
Yeah, I think but it sounds like they're open to having discussions from stakeholders like yourself and anybody doing hemp out there, just regarding product-wise right now. And then hopefully, once you guys get a second definition, which will be the hemp definition, if Alaska, Oregon, I believe in Colorado, definitely all use metric for their marijuana side of the regulatory part. And so at least here in Colorado and Oregon, they won't allow any products other than the marijuana products through the metric system to be sold in the dispensaries. So originally that's what I thought. It doesn't seem to be one of their arguments at all, which is kind of interesting to me.
It's very confusing on whether, my notice of violation was very broad. I mean, it was a notice of violation for having untested product, for having untracked product, for having product that didn't come from the state. They kind of just said it was just, kind of all around. And then it'll be it's kind of up to the board, which on Friday to kind of see how they view everything. So
tell us what that looks like. What exactly does it mean that you have to go before the board now? So you got a notice of multiple violations for these specific products that were seized from industrial hemp, not marijuana, CBD. It was all of what you just stated. Now what happens next? You go before what board, and what does that look like?
So we'll go before the Marijuana Control Board. So in Alaska, the alcohol side and the marijuana side have two different boards, but they share the same director and the same staff and the same enforcement staff. So we'll go in front of the marijuana side, the Marijuana Control Board, the 5 members, and, it basically explain how, we didn't believe we were in violation. We believe this was a hemp product. So it'll be kind of fine. It's not, it's a notice that we violated something. And then it's kind of up to the board to decide how far to take that.
That's definitely at least positive that they're not jumping the gun too much. I mean, it does suck the product got seized and there's money lost. I think that any of these hemp products thought that they were doing anything illegal. I think if you asked every single one of them, they would say no, because it's not marijuana. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not a public safety concern. There's no THC. Of course we didn't think it was illegal or wrong. So I think, so I think, go ahead.
So I received a call from just our natural food store, the local one, because they saw that on Facebook, what was going on. And so, I mean, it wasn't just like retailers. It was, other people were freaking out because they're afraid that their $5,000 worth of CBD that's sitting on their shelves was going to get taken. But it kind of seems like the state's response, if it was about safety, I would think they would tell everyone, that needs to be removed from shelves. But it just seems that, I guess they're trying to decide whether it is or isn't hemp right now before they do.
Yeah, because you're right, because they are citing that it's marijuana, and marijuana is under their regulation and their control, and you guys, have an invalid marijuana product on the shelves. But yeah, all these other stores do too that are not even under the marijuana regulations. So that is interesting. They kind of have, they can't double dip that argument like they're trying to. So there is so you're saying there's a. Go
ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Their argument is that they're saying that they don't have really enforcement powers over them, or they don't have really enforcement powers over them, or they just don't have the finances for it. But if somebody carries marijuana in their stores, they're considered an unlicensed marijuana retail store. So then they become under their definition. So it's very, obviously I'm not a lawyer, but it does not seem like a mess that's going to get cleaned up in one day.
Well, and there is some common sense factor about all this, and common sense is if you guys are pulling this product off the shelf of licensed dispensary locations, marijuana locations, and saying it's marijuana that is not properly labeled, etc., they aren't even licensed that are selling it if it is marijuana in their mind. So that's interesting. Did you find the definition of marijuana yet?
Yes. Looking.
How long is it, while you're looking for that, how long is it taking you to get your license worked out or process where you're at now?
So it's been about a year since I initiated my application, and we still, at the earliest we could start selling marijuana would be next month. So it'll be over a year from the time that we applied to the time that we'll actually get our license, or from the time that we applied to the time that we'll actually get our license. And that Yeah, but we've been when Washington and Colorado started going, that's when we started doing our research, saving our money, and all that. So we've been watching this for many years at this point. I've went to when they were making all the rules. I mean, the day that they finalized the regulations was actually on my birthday. So my birthday present was final rules. Here you go. Everyone can kind of get started. So.
Well, that's nice. It is financially burdensome to wait a year. It's also stressful financially, emotionally, and a bunch of other ways when you're carrying, a business that can't profit. And I believe a lot of the businesses had the CBD products in there because they were just trying to supplement income to some degree from a non-prohibited product. So. Yeah.
And means all parts of the plant of the genus cannabis, whether growing or not, the seeds thereof, the resin extracted from any part of the plant, and every compound, manufacture, salt-derived mixture, or preparation of the plant, its seeds, or its resins, including marijuana concentrate. Marijuana does not mean or does not produce from the stalks, oil, or cake made from the seeds of the plant, sterilized seed of the plant which is incapable of germination, or the weight of any other ingredients combined with marijuana to prepare topical or oral administration, food or drink, or other products. So that's where it's kind of confusing, these products. So that's where it's kind of confusing. They say it includes all parts of the plants and everything that you can pull out of there, except for it doesn't include these parts and all the things that you can pull out of there, but it's including, I don't know, it's very confusing for me.
It's anyway. Confusing, and it's also interesting that the what did you call it? It's the AMCO, the regulators in charge of the marijuana program, is that they are only fighting CBD and THC, but that definition just waxes, chlorophyll, all like CBN, CBG, all the other cannabinoids too, right? I mean, at least in my opinion, it would.
Yeah, so if you can find all those terpenes in the essential oil market, that's also in all the natural food stores. I mean, it's a big mess they created when, it didn't need to explode like this. If we could have, realized that there was a gap and taken care of the gap rather than, I don't know. At least that's my opinion. Obviously, I will admit that. At least that's my opinion. Obviously, I will admit that I am a little biased because I'm directly affected with this financially. So.
Right. Well, of course. I mean, and it also affects the people who probably were relying on these awesome hemp products that cannot get them now from reliable sources. So that's not cool.
Yeah, there was many people that were beginning to become regular customers in the short time we've been open that was helping them get through chemo therapy, and now they back to nothing. So it was frustrating on many levels. I finally believed that I was doing good.
Yeah, it's a little bumpy always when legalization, quote unquote, gets started in a particular state. There's always something. We still have raids here. We were raided. Some of the hemp people with hemp fields were raided by local law enforcement last year. So we're still by local law enforcement last year. So we're still even having issues here in Colorado. But you mentioned that you had been really proactive when it came to like the rules and regulations. What are you still actively involved in discussions trying to clear this up, or do you have lobbyists? Like, what is the industry or even just yourself doing about this out there? What is the industry or even just yourself doing about this out there, if anything, right now?
So out here, there's actually, because we're a small state and a small industry up here just in Alaska, the majority of us know each other and interact with each other so far. There's a association that's extremely active, and then there's also the Alaska, the AMIA, which was more of a state one. They're pretty active in Fairbanks, but all of them communicate with each other, and we all actually there's quite a few people that go do public comments at the meetings, and everyone sends out to their regulators and how you can find your regulators. So we're still very active, and it's a pretty active community. Like right now, there's a hemp bill going through, which there's actually the public comment period is today at 3:30 for our hemp bill. So hopefully it does give the definition of hemp the same way that the federal government sees it.
Yeah, that definitely could be one of the silver linings in this whole drama right here. Have either of those organizations or the associations that you mentioned, have they put any kind of public statement out at all regarding recent actions?
Yeah, I don't believe that ACBA has put a public comment out, but I know that the AMIA does have a public comment that they put out for that one on the CBDs and the hemp. And then, there's a few other things that they put public comment out for as well.
Okay, I'm going to have to look that up.
Yeah, public comment out for as well.
Okay, I'm going to have to look that up.
Yeah.
Did you put that on your Facebook, your Green Jar Facebook?
I don't know if I
didn't remember seeing it. If you get a chance, post that. Everyone can go and look at Green Jar on Facebook. Do you have a website address?
Yeah, it's greenjarak.com.
Okay. Writing that down. Okay, so what do you expect to happen on Friday? What are you hoping for? Obviously.
I'm seeing them saying that this is just hemp and they're going to allow me to go back to selling it, but I don't imagine that they're going to keep everyone's products, at least from the comment the guy made, you'll probably see it back next week. That's what I'm hoping for.
Oh, really?
Obviously, what I hope the most out of this would be that I get to go right back to selling this, but I just, with everything that's been going, I just have a hard time seeing our regulators going that way.
Right, and if they do come back, and even if they release the property, which would be right, and if they do come back, and even if they release the property, which would be awesome, but they do that contingent upon saying, no, you guys can't sell it in the stores anymore at this point. Like, are you cool with that, honoring that, and then if something changes in the future where you guys can purchase from, like, the hemp farmers out there, if the hemp bill did pass, receptible to that?
Yeah, and that's why, like, if they decide that that's the way the rules are in Alaska and that's the way Alaska is going to view it, then that's the way I'm going to view it, because I want to be a legal business, and if I want to be a legal business, I have to obey the laws of the land. Products until there's a proper channels for them to go through, because that's the only way we're going to truly get hemp and marijuana normalized is by going through the proper channels, and rather than trying to force issues when we could just work with them to get them on our side, I want to work with them to get them on our side, I want to have a transparent and legal industry, and the best way to do that is to be transparent and legal.
Yes, exactly. Do you feel that it would be beneficial to be able to have these extra type of products in your store, since obviously it costs to produce them separately, and that's all overhead expenses. But if the time does come where you guys the dispensaries and the MJ side can collaborate with the hemp side in Alaska or even nationwide, would it be the MJ side?
I believe so. I believe it's beneficial to have, at least for us in Alaska, to have them here, because there are, some of those customers that were coming in and getting the CBD products were specifically getting those because they didn't want to have the psychoactive portion of it. So I believe that having CBDs, I consume marijuana regularly, but I still also consume CBD products because, my body functions and feels better when I'm consuming them.
Yeah, there was a really good saying on someone's posting the other day, and I can't remember if it was yours or somewhere else, but it said, but not all cannabis is hemp. I don't know if you saw that saying, but that was a really good saying, like hemp is always cannabis, but not all cannabis is hemp, because just really because of the THC levels. So even though this is like about hemp in general, like these conference calls, just tell me your vision of what you envision your store to be at in like a year, out in Alaska on the MJ side?
Like, how so? Like, what do you mean?
Well, where do you see yourself at in your business? Are you going to have, like, awesome strains and genetics and purple and pink? Are you going to have, like, awesome strains and genetics and purple and pink? Or are you going to focus a lot on oils or just have the plethora?
Yeah, okay. So for us, it'll be, the markets seem to be about half of the market stays flower, and then there's some really good concentrate companies up here, and there's a few edibles companies coming along. But it's still such a small part that the majority of it is flower now. So I'm looking forward to a year from now. Hopefully the market will have smoothed out and we have those concentrates and those edibles and everything on a consistent basis. So customer experience where they can come in, we're not out of products anytime. They can have the same kind of experience they would get when they go to, any store, any retail store. So I think that's where we'll be, is kind of that plethora, and then kind of engaging the customers for the customer experience.
Yeah, it'll be great. You're on an interesting journey. It might even get a little bumpy sometimes. Yeah. But it could be well worth it, and it's good that you guys are kind of in a small state and you're all in arm's reach of each other. So that could be great. Over here, Colorado it's not as fun or as nice as everyone thinks it is with our regulations on the MJ side. Hemp is always interesting too and evolving. So, any last thoughts that you might have or anything you want to leave us, be sure to let us know how we can find you in Alaska once we all travel out there, because you'll be a spot we have to stop at. So where do we find you in the future?
In the future, our store, luckily enough, very easy to find. There's about one highway in Alaska. So just once you get off the plane, actually right off the highway, you can see our store. We have a green rope light along our along our line. So in winter with no sun, our store is pretty good lit up. And it's right near the Harley-Davidson shop, so you can get your Harley-Davidson shirt for Alaska. And then about a 30-second drive from there, you'll see.
And again, it's the green jar, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, awesome. I think it's 2:30, so we're going to move on to the hemp side of it. But Caleb, I really want to thank you for joining us today, and I really appreciate your time. And if you don't mind, I'm going to keep and go down, and please know if I can help you or anyone that I'm connected to can help you on any regulations or feedback or answering questions. I'm happy to help you also.
Thank you. And that offer extends if people need to contact us. If you contact Green Jar, if there's some questions that I can help with, contact us. If you contact Green Jar, if there's some questions that I can help with, I love helping people out. The more educated everyone is, the better we're all going to be.
Well, my fingers are absolutely crossed for you on Friday. So good luck. I really have a good feeling about it. I think you're going to be perfectly fine. So be sure to post when you're perfectly fine. So be sure to post when your grand opening is.
Thank you. I will.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us. And we're going to go ahead and move over to our second part of the show, or our conference call. Sorry, it's not a show yet, just in my mind. And Ember, are you? Okay, wonderful. So we're going to, on this part of the conference call, we are going to discuss the hemp version. Now, Caleb talked a little bit about there being a hemp bill, and that's part of what we're going to get more in depth with. You actually was, I believe it was nominated this year in Colorado for one of the awards for a hemp business. I know it was Chloe, but I can't remember what that award is. I always forget the name.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. I did forget that now.
I'm horrible. There's
products that are hemp products category, and I think it was because of our customers. We posted it on our Facebook page, and I guess we got a good response.
You did. I couldn't believe I saw your name there. I'm like, wow, great job. So that was awesome. So you definitely, I want you to Yes.
Yes, I have to claim it. I have to claim the phrase. That was my phrase, that all hemp is cannabis, but not all cannabis is hemp. Yeah,
oh my gosh, thank you. I love that saying. That is the best. I'm going to totally use that all the time now.
Yeah.
Saying. That is the best. I'm going to totally use that all the time now.
Yeah, well, it was one of those brainstormings. Chris and I were sitting around talking about it, and yeah, it's like so simple, but true.
It absolutely makes sense. And you have, let's give everyone now and in the future what you like to do about who you are over there, what you do, how you're involved with hemp, now and in the past, as it stands currently in Alaska.
Sure. Well, for the last 10 years, I have been using hemp seed oil in my products, in my body products, herbal and plants that we wildcraft and grow up here in Alaska just for their fabulous properties. And then we try to use, the best oils for the skin. And, of course, hemp seed oil is one of the best. So we have been using that just in our normal Silver Bear Sundry products. One of the best. So we have been using that just in our normal Silver Bear Sundry products for almost 10 years. And over the years, I've had customers requesting products that were nut-free, that were lightly scented or not scented. And it just kind of gradually happened where when in 2014 Alaskans voted to legalize recreational marijuana cannabis, we decided it was time to just devote an entire line, and then it became a business, to hemp seed oil products. So in balms and salves and tinctures, and then we also use olive oil and then herbs and very few essential oils. We really focus more on just the base oil of the hemp seed oil and then also the herbs that we incorporate. And we have been selling these products in markets throughout Alaska. We have wholesale customers that purchase. We have over 50 stores now, most of them in Alaska, and then we are branching out to other states as well. And it's been a platform of hemp education, and so we've been using the fact that recreational cannabis is legal, that hemp is cannabis, explaining it to people. We pass out samples of hemp hearts in our cabin. We have a display 24/7 that, why use hemp seed oil on your skin, why eat hemp products, the differences between the high resin and, MJ, just talking to people, just getting them comfortable. When we first started selling our products that were hemp, they didn't even want to touch my products. They would say, oh my gosh, this smells like pot. They just did not want to have anything to do with them. And we just kept at it with just, my hemp seed oil was always on the ingredient list. And now as the years have progressed, people are all about it, and they search out the products that are made with hemp seed oil. And I still get the opportunity to educate that we use hemp seed oil, and that is from the pressed from the hemp seed, and that it is not a high resin CBD or anything like that. Not a high resin CBD or anything like that. So it's always education, always explaining. That's what I do. With my husband, sorry, I should have said, Chris, at the very beginning, Denali Hemp Company is a project with my husband who I wouldn't be able to do it. Everyone knew.
No, that's awesome. I loved the whole mom and pop company aspect that has an opportunity to grow and develop, and that's how cannabis, both the hemp and the MJ side, should really be, where it's not just segregated to rich folks or just a few elites. They truly do support that. And I love that you utilize your existing resources, such as the herbs that you guys have out there. I love that aspect about your product line. So cool. So when you were doing, I love it. So when you were doing that, you've been doing this. How many other hemp producers?
Yeah, really, honestly, we are it. Denali Hemp Company has a state of Alaska business license for manufacturing. We are made in Alaska certified. Everyone knows that we use hemp seed oil. Everyone knows it. It's on all of our labels. It's very clear. And it's, we've been doing this we've been using hemp seed oil for 10 years. And then the actual designated company has been since 2014 for Denali Hemp Company. And I don't think I don't think there's anyone else that's doing. And I don't think there's anyone else that's doing a designated hemp where they make it themselves. There might be hemp clothing companies that import and sell and different hemp things that way. But as far as taking hemp seed oil and making something with it, and making a new product with it, there's no one else but us.
So you guys are total rock stars on the hemp side, definitely paving the way out there. And education is so essential because a lot of people are confused then and they're confused now. It just, the confusion level changes, and how much confusion runs rampant amazes me each time. But regarding your hemp press seed oil, let's talk about that for a second, because that is a huge part of the potential domestic market that we have in America. Yes. So now that American hemp is getting more legalized in all the different states, there's a bunch of different types of byproducts that can be utilized. Some more controversial or less controversial than others. And a lot right now, the existing imported market for hemp products such as hemp press seed oil or hemp hearts or hemp flour and protein powder from Canada primarily is or hemp flour and protein powder from Canada primarily is $500, I think $600 million market, which the U.S. domestic hemp growers and farmers could take over, right? Which Canada doesn't want, but it's true. Did you originally import the hemp from Canada, and then when you switched over to a domestic provider, did you have any issues with the manufacturer license you have with your local health department? Did they have issue with domestic versus imported? That issue has not come up at all. I believe that business is small enough that we are still under more of the cottage industry markets. We do sell out of the farmers markets and such. So that has been very, very beneficial to our business for sure. So the way that our Alaska regulations fall, we originally, so when 10 years ago, I was importing all of my hemp seed oil, just like I do with my sweet almond oil and my olive oil, things that I can't make. And as soon as things started progressing, I had been searching for domestic hemp seed oil. Like, that is what I wanted more than anything in the world to put into my products, of course, to grow our own and be able to, or access, from Alaska, be domestic. That is a huge, oh my gosh, the difference in my products from when I was using Canadian hemp seed oil versus using domestic hemp seed oil has been just phenomenal. It's almost like comparing a pudding to a creme brulee. I mean, it's that. That is. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because the freshness of the pressing process is happening and it's getting to you fresh pressed, or do you think it's something else? Because I'm trying to figure that out still too. Yeah, and it's also, so the color is different. The color is more of a golden versus, it still has a green hint to it for sure, but it's not like this deep green that you get mostly. And everything I always use, all of my products, I try to use as much unrefined, unprocessed, organic, raw for everything. So organic products or natural products to natural products. But yeah, it's that, I believe, the freshness. I think that
like most everything, for example, I make all of my products in small batches. I have big orders where it would be great if I just made a huge batch, but almost every time you do that, something will go wrong, or you don't have that ability to check, all these little small batches, and something might go unnoticed. And I try to have extremely high quality control on all my products. So I think a smaller manufacturer, I think that right there, I think that it's, the soil is different, just like your garden, is different than someone else's garden. And I lucked out with some really quality oil.
Love that it's benefiting your product and you notice the difference, because I've noticed there's a clear difference too, just because I've only had access before to imported hemp seed oil, and Colorado wasn't really able to produce hemp seed oil till just like last year. So it's awesome and definitely different. Now Alaska has marijuana law only and no industrial hemp law specifically or definition yet, and there is Caleb mentioned the bill that was going on. Can you tell us your involvement regarding what's going on? Since I'm just kind of assuming that you're involved, and because you're like a hemp business out there, can you tell us what you know about the bill, what the language looks like, and what expectations and where it's at right now?
Yes, definitely. We have been, following hemp legislation in 2015. We've been part of that, working with it was Senator Ellis in Alaska who had brought SB 8, was the original hemp bill. And unfortunately, it didn't make it out the last 2 years, and then he retired. And Senator Hughes brought it, had farmers from the Matanuska Valley come to her and say they want this opportunity. And so she has brought it as SB 6. And just recently this week presented a committee substitute, which is pretty much a revampment of the old SB 8 and what she had originally brought as SB 6. And this basically brings the language so that we are compatible to the Farm Bill language, and just more clearly defines what is industrial hemp, and just has it just more specific and defined. And then also takes out affirmative action that industrial hemp is removed from the list of controlled substances, and that also food containing industrial hemp is no longer considered adulterated, and that it's further separating. It's hard, it is hard for me because I am an advocate. It's all cannabis, but when it comes to legislation like this, sometimes you just have to pick and choose your battles, I guess. And so in this, bill, it also, the language, it removes industrial hemp and from all the marijuana definitions, because that is how the state of from all the marijuana definitions, because that is how the state of Alaska has been defining it and separating it as marijuana. And leaving room for, an industrial hemp bill. So this is great that it's nice and simple, and aligns us with federal language.
Now, are you guys? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say. So that leads us up to today. Is public testimony is welcome at 3:30. Alaska's great. You can show up to Juneau. You can go to your local legislature.
Yeah, I love that part.
Hopefully, once that happens, it makes it really accessible for people, and everything's recorded, so you can also go back to the legislative website and listen to it. And so hopefully it'll pass. The Alaska Department of Agriculture, they testified on Monday, And everything that they said, they were completely in support of this industry and really excited to give Alaskan farmers another opportunity. They were talking about worldwide exporting of hemp. they were about worldwide exporting of hemp. they were really looking toward the future, and said straight up that they were going to try to make it as easy as possible for farmers to be successful, and that even individuals could have hemp growing in their backyard. So I was happy because that's another thing that I've been a big proponent of, and Chris and I, that, it's not, we're all about farmers 100%, but it's also, be great for small people or people with small properties to be able to utilize and grow hemp to feed their livestock, to, implement. I think this bill allows for that, yeah.
Okay, well, let me ask you a little bit more details about the bill. So at one point I saw there was kind of an understanding about Alaska. We've had different conversations here in Colorado about it, that you guys are the most, lenient right we saw. So under that original bill language, there wasn't any, license or registration and really no oversight and regulatory situation under the Department of Ag, which most states have. Almost all programs basically are regulated under the Department of Ag for industrial hemp. So has the regulations and registrations and stuff like that to stay in compliance with the federal farm bill? Okay.
Yes, that is another aspect that this new version puts into alignment, and that is providing for pilot programs. The Division of Agriculture is going to be in charge of this program, and that was another thing from their testimony that was really nice, was that everyone's worried about the fiscal notes, and they're trying to keep this bill at a zero fiscal note. And so it was really questionable how could the Department of Ag run a program and keep it with a zero fiscal note. And their response was that, this is what they do. This is how they help, support. This is what they do. This is how they help, support commerce in agriculture. And so they would absorb this. But there is also registration. And so you would have to register your land, your GPS coordinates, and there would be inspections. They have, they're providing for that in this bill, that language to allow for regulation, to start out with the pilot programs under, the Division of Ag, who will then give out permits to applicants. So as possible, they put out numbers between $25 and $500, but that they would love to keep it $25 to $50. So that, they're definitely trying, from what they're saying, to keep it, not only feasible and not sure that to give the industry the best footing is to keep it in alignment with the federal wording and all of that. So I definitely feel like the language that they have put in, everything that I've seen, keeps them in alignment. And the biggest step, probably. And then they, in turn, will be doing all of the regulating and sending out inspectors, and so they've provided all of that in the bill for those to to have lots of testing and to have the property, like I said, give the GPS coordinates.
Right.
They did have.
Let me ask you this question. Let's talk about that record part too in a minute. I wanted to ask you, is there any language specifically in there that says only certified seed, can be grown, or anything like that at all? Because some languages in different states do say that, which obviously causes a problem on seed access, because there's no certified seed really yet available in America. So you guys
So right off the top, it says that a registrant may use any propagation method, including planting seeds or starting or using clones or cuttings. The department, a registrant, or any institution may import into the state and resell industrial hemp for the purpose of propagating for the next year. I'm sure it says, that it gives the language that they may adopt regulations and such.
Right.
So I would think that they would probably, especially if they do something such as go with the metric. Then that would definitely probably make all of that happen. But so far they don't have, that's pretty much the only wording that they have as far as how that seed is going to come about.
That's actually very good verbiage. So I'm happy they're open to it all and not restricting it to certified seeds. Have they put any other restrictions on like age or felons or, prohibited any certain types of parties from being able to grow industrial hemp there?
That wording, the agents would have to be fingerprinted and, quite extensive. But I have not read that. It was basically any person who registers and is willing to have their land documented and, that they were good to go. And if they could have, but they had to just give their name. But they did have the 3, you have to have, lots of records, and they said that you have to keep your records for 3 years. The one part that I felt was a little much was that you have to. It says you have to keep the records for 3 years, and then the department shall provide at least 3 days notice before inspecting the records. It seemed that they could give a little bit more time and be a little more specific than just no less than 3.
Yeah, hopefully that could be something you address in the testimony today for them to kind of maybe reevaluate. I'm not sure if those numbers are like audit numbers, how they say to keep records for 3 years.
Right.
And then if you're ready to get audited, I don't know if that's some kind of deadline on that, but it would be nice to a little bit about the bill direction and the support behind it. Does it seem like it's going to probably pass? Because that would be so awesome.
Yeah, I really think the reception from the senators on the resource committee, I feel like they were for it, unless there's something that's revealed today. I can't imagine. They were mostly concerned about the fiscal note. That was a big deal,
right.
And then they were really concerned about testing so that there were no sneaky farmers in there. That was like their 2 biggest concerns, and it seems like those things have been proven to them that it shouldn't be a situation. So if it passes from the resource, then the next is the judiciary and on that committee as well. So I think that's probably, if it passes, is a positive. But yeah.
Absolutely.
And then to the House, it's being supported by Senator Kawasaki, I think his name is, from Fairbanks, on the House side. So that's good.
Republican. That's important. Yeah. They seem to stand together for hemp. At least that seems to be the track record here in Colorado. So hopefully it goes that way in Alaska. My fingers are super crossed. I really am so supporting that this passes, and I'm really hoping that you guys are going to be able to, start growing hemp and have like passes. And I'm really hoping that you guys are going to be able to, start growing hemp and have like a thriving industry locally and hopefully take a chunk of the domestic potential we have. But what is everyone's perspective about growing hemp? Like, your season is different than, for example, mine. Mine, right? So
yes.
How do are you guys talking about this? Yeah, what is the thought behind that?
Yes. Well, my husband, Chris, and I, we talk about this all the time. There's not like a group of us that, get together and talk. So Chris and I talk about this. We just saw a paper that, what was it? It was from Fairbanks, where they grew in the 30s, and they said that they planted hemp out in May in 4 long rows, and that by June it was flowering, and that they had that was growing abundantly. So if you go off a record like that, the potential is great. There's auto varieties of hemp out there. I think, getting seed, letting people, there's just, Alaska is so full of microclimates that what's going to grow here might not grow 30 miles, that what's going to grow here might not grow 30 miles and up the hill and down the valley. So being able to experiment in your own microclimate, I think, is going to be huge. Hoop houses would be huge. There's such a demand for insulation materials and animal bedding up here that the stocks, I think, are going to be so useful. It's just beginning. And so I hear comments all the time that, we don't have the infrastructure set up for hemp yet. Well, of course, it has to have knowledge that once it gets, we just have to get this bill passed and then open the doors for people, because there's many creative farmers up here in Alaska who can grow amazing crops, and I have no doubt that with the right strain for the right purpose, it will be a great crop.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to help you guys too. So keep me informed and let me know what happens today and as legislative session goes by, because like anyone who has not participated in legislative session, it is very stressful. Makes your hair turn gray. You might even cry yourself to sleep at night every once in a while. Legislative session is very rough, and especially depending on where you're at involvement-wise, but in your favor, it feels much better at the end. It just happens every year. Some people live for legislative session. I am not that political person who lives for that type of politicalness. It's just not fun. So
this
good
is
job
not
over
my
there.
norm by any means. Yeah. Well, we just appreciate you for feel really lost without your mentorship. So I refer to you as my mentor. I just hope you know.
Oh, thank you. That's part of that's the goal of Grow Hemp Colorado, because like Grow Hemp Colorado was developed for like a resource for farmers, first obviously focusing on Colorado, but open source and really to have information and restart the wheel of industrial hemp in our different states. So I'm a big believer in not like Colorado hemp or Kentucky hemp. I believe in USA hemp, industry. Yes. So we're all a piece of that. We all have our different roles to play, but it's going to last forever, and it's already over. Tell us, for those listening now and in the future, how do we find you? Spell it out on how we find your domain name and your products and you on Facebook or not.
For sure. So we have embraced technology, and so you can find. So we have embraced technology, and so you can find Denali Hemp Company. We have www.denalihemp.com. We have Silver Bear Sundries, which is the same. Silver Bear Sundries, all spelled out. And then on Facebook,
spell us Denali Hemp
Spell
Company.
it out. Denali Hemp Company, DENALIHEMP. .com. Yeah, DenaliHemp.com. And then on Facebook, we do a lot of, and so Denali Hemp Company on Facebook.
Okay, awesome. Now, I guess one last question I just need to know, because I totally forgot to ask, and it's fairly important. Is there any associations out there for hemp yet? I mean, you're like this, like little superhero on a mission with the hemp side right now, but as it grows, or is there any association evolving out there or thought of it
yes,
for you maybe?
There kind of is. There's like these little nucleuses, out and about, and one is there's Frank Turney up in Fairbanks, who is a great hemp advocate. And so he, it's kind of like his own entity. We're kind of like these separate little groups reaching out. Rhonda Marcy, she's another hemp advocate, and Jack Bennett down in Homer is actually building a hempcrete house. So
cool.
That's kind of like the group, and maybe Frank Berardi or someone, but there's really no organization, and we've kind of talked about that a little bit, that it would be really nice if there was a designated, but there's going to be people popping up all over the place, but we definitely
we'll have to have you on again as a guest, when a special guest, when you have the information for the new hemp organization that you might end up creating. So,
right.
okay, well, that you might end up creating. So,
right.
Okay, well,
exactly.
We're totally out of time right now. Well, let's do it again. I really appreciate your time. I definitely am grateful for all your work you're doing down there. You're making history. Don't give up. It will be very prosperous. Hopefully the bill passes. Keep me informed. It will be very prosperous. Hopefully the bill passes. Keep me informed. And for everyone who's listening now, thank you for participating. Thank you for those listening in the future. Again, this will be available for download and future listening on Grow Hemp Colorado. And again, next week, Wednesday at 2 p.m. with a different topic. So, Ember, thank you so much for your wonderful, kind time today and all you're doing down in Alaska. So,
Up
thank
in Alaska.
you.
Up in Alaska.
Duh, Veronica. Sorry.
Thanks, Veronica. Appreciate it.
All right. See